Darlings, you're in big trouble. Yes, you are. You still haven't ordered this blood test. I've made a couple of videos on it already and you still haven't done it. One of the single most important blood tests you can do. Bend over. I'm going to spank your ass. What do I do on this channel? Give you practical, hands-on tips. And what do? You subscribe to bozos that don't give you any practical hands-on tips. Get this bloody blood test ordered. Stay tuned. For those new to my channel, welcome. My name is Simon. I do fun biohacking stuff. This is the only YouTube channel where you can see in the description box PDF files that I've stored on the cloud for you to view online, download, showing every artery scan I've ever done. I'm talking about coronary artery scans, carotid ultrasounds of the neck, looking for plaque, atherosclerosis, number one thing that we all get. Yes, you get it. Oh, yes, you do. Yes, it's in your arteries. Have you checked? Have you done your scans? Why not? Why not? Bend over. You need a slapped ass and you still haven't ordered this blood test. You still haven't ordered it. All right, I'm going to tell you what it is. Can you read that? It says Boston Heart on it. Boston Heart Diagnostics, right? This is the lab company that produces this test. It's not a LabCorp test. It's not a Quest test. You can't get it done there. So if you want to go to your doctor and say, "Oi, doctor, I want to talk about a blood test you've never heard of, and it's the most important test, cholesterol related, that I've never done." It's called the cholesterol balance test. That's the name of it. Only Boston Heart do it, okay? Now, assuming your doctor writes a prescription for it, probably your insurance company isn't going to pay for it because they don't pay for anything useful, do they? So you're going to have to pay for it out of pocket. Now, I'm going to show you at the end of the video the different places where you can get this blood test ordered, because you can self-order it without a doctor. I like to get it through my chiropractor because it's the cheapest way of doing it. Anyway, that's what this test is. So, like I said, it's not a LabCorp or Quest thing. You get this kit in the mail, and inside are all the tubes and the pipes and all this stuff, right? And then separately, they will email you the requisition form, like the script. So what you do is, when you get this kit in the mail, after your doctor, or in my case, your chiropractor, orders it, comes to your house or their office, you pick it up, you take it to a lab facility called Any Lab Test Now. They're an independent, nationwide blood draw place, okay? I've got one about 5 miles from my house. So if you go to anylabtestnow.com and you find a place near you, you take the kit. I don't even open the box. You see, Any Lab Test Now has a contract with Boston Heart. So when you go to the lab, they don't charge you for the draw. They'll open the box, take out all the tubes and the pipes. They'll take the requisition form and they'll send it all off to Boston Heart, who'll do the testing, and you don't pay for any of that, okay? And then your results will be on your portal through your provider like about a week later, okay? So that's the kit. So I'm not going to open this box because there's a bunch of tubes and pipes. Now, if you don't have an Any Lab Test Now near you, you could get a mobile phlebotomist to come to your home, or someone that you know that does draws. You know, you can open the box yourself, the kit, take out the tubes and the pipes, do the lab draw, and then you mail it off to Boston Heart. That'll be the other way of doing it, but I have an Any Lab Test Now near me, so that's what I do. Stay tuned to the end, because there is a way where you don't even need the kit. You can just do a finger prick on a postcard at home. I'm going to provide that link to you. So if you can't get a prescription from your chiropractor, your doctor, you don't have an Any Lab Test Now near you, you don't want to deal with a mobile phlebotomist, there is a way to do a finger prick on a postcard. So, the reason why you need to get this test, what is it? And I'm going to show you on my screen the results in a second. Okay, called the cholesterol balance test. What it does is, it tests these things called sterol markers. And I'm going to explain this in layman's terms, okay? These are proxies for whether or not you over-synthesize, meaning overproduce cholesterol in your body, okay? There's two proxies markers, and I'm going to show you on my screen. So the test will give you the results. Do you oversynthesize, overproduce cholesterol inside your own body or not? That's the one thing it tells you. The second thing it tells you is, do you overabsorb cholesterol in your body or not? Now, these are proxy markers, and that's what it will tell you. Why is this important? It's important for two reasons. One, it helps you make informed dietary decisions. Two, it helps you make informed medical pharmaceutical decisions, and I'll tell you why. I don't know about you, but I'm sick to death and bored of watching all these ridiculous videos where they say things like, here are the studies showing that you can eat as many eggs as you want, eggs are rich in cholesterol, and it won't impact your cholesterol. And there are others that were like, yes, it will, and here's my studies. You do the blood test. The only accurate answer to the question as to whether or not dietary cholesterol will increase your cholesterol depends upon whether or not you're an overabsorber. If you're not an overabsorber, knock yourself out. Go munch on a bunch of eggs. It's not going to impact your cholesterol. If you are an overabsorber, like me, then when you eat eggs, your LDL, your ApoB, is going to go much higher than someone who doesn't. So when you know that, either you are an overabsorber or you're not, you can make an informed dietary decision as to whether or not you want to have cholesterol-rich foods in your diet. And if you're trying to reduce your cholesterol, your LDL, your ApoB naturally, and you're an overabsorber, goodbye eggs, see you later. They're gone from the diet. Do you understand the point? With me, nothing is ideological. Nothing, okay? You see the word Simon Biohacker? That means all I care about, whether it's food, diet, lifestyle, supplements or meds, is what works, okay? So don't pay any attention to these stupid videos about whether or not dietary cholesterol impacts your cholesterol. Go find out. Cholesterol balance test from Boston Heart Diagnostics. The second thing it tells you, do you oversynthesize cholesterol, overproduce cholesterol? It'll give you an answer. Now, if the answer is yes, then you're going to know, and you want to do medications to lower your cholesterol, you're going to know that drugs like statins and bempedoic acid are going to work for you, because statins and bempedoic acid reduce cholesterol synthesis. So if you oversynthesize, they're going to work. But think about it, the flip side. Let's suppose you don't oversynthesize. You're an undersynthesizer, if you will. You go to your doctor and he says, well, and let's suppose you're an overabsorber. So you undersynthesize because you've done the test. You're an overabsorber, let's say, hypothetically. You go to your doctor and you know that before you go to the appointment. You see your doctor and he says, oh, I'll put you on a statin to lower cholesterol. This is when you say, doctor, please don't be an idiot. Please don't say stupid things. Don't treat me like a robot on a factory line. I've done the cholesterol balance test. Why the hell would you want to put me on a drug when I don't oversynthesize? Why would I want to be on a statin when clearly my results are telling me it's not going to work that well? But I do overabsorb. Therefore, wouldn't it make more sense to be on a drug like ezetimibe? You see what I'm saying? There's different types of cholesterol-lowering medications. Statins and bempedoic acid reduce cholesterol synthesis. Ezetimibe, totally different mechanism of action, blocks cholesterol absorber. So if you know, because you've done the cholesterol balance test, Boston Heart Diagnostics, that you're an overabsorber, and you walk into that appointment knowing that, you should have an intelligent conversation where you say, Dr. Jones, first line is ezetimibe because I'm an overabsorber. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're an overabsorber, ezetimibe, which is normally not that potent of a drug to lower cholesterol, is going to work gangbusters on you because you overabsorb. So the drug blocks absorption. It will work 2 or 3 times more stronger to lower your ApoB and LDL than if you're not. So Most doctors treat people like robots on a factory line. Standard of care is here's a statin. No, standard of care is stupid, okay? You need to know whether you're an over-synthesizer, an overproducer or not, and you need to know whether or not you're an over-absorber or not, in order to make intelligent decisions about your diet and about medications. But most people don't do this. Doctors should all be running this test prior to getting their prescription pen out. But they don't, because they're following guidelines. So it's incumbent upon you to make sure that you know what you're talking about and what you're doing prior to the appointment. When I go see my doctor, I already know what medications I want. And then it's just a game to figure out how to get them past the stupidity of the system. You see my point? Most people go, oh, I don't know what's going on, I'll just listen to whatever my doctor says. No. You have to be responsible for your health, okay? No one's going to care as much about your health as you do. Except for me, I care. Because you've already clicked the subscribe button. Because you're getting the best information anywhere on the internet. You know you are. Have you commented yet? Because it helps the algorithm. Listen, if you don't help me out, I'm going to bugger off back to England. So you have to help me out to grow the channel, okay? And those of you that want to send me private messages, no problem. Go to my Substack feed. I've got a newsletter, email on the Substack platform. It's at simonthebiohacker.substack.com. Sign up, you get on the email newsletter for free, and you can direct message me through that platform, where you can, maybe hear some things that I'm not allowed to talk about on this platform, like, oh, remember the thing I'm not allowed to talk about, these things? Yeah, I've showed you this before. There's pens there. There's peptides in them. I know, right? A whole bunch of them. Yummy for my tummy. Ka-ching! I love peptides. You'll love peptides. There's a lot of horrible information on YouTube about peptides. I've been taking them for years. So I know all about that stuff. So I will talk about peptides more moving forward. But listen, I'm going to show you on my computer screen now what the results of the cholesterol balance test look like. I'm going to show you that finger prick where you can put a drop of blood on a postcard if you don't want to get the kit and can't find any lab tests now. So hang on, I'll go to my computer and I'll show you what's on the screen. All right, we seem to be in business with technology. Isn't this wonderful? So this is what the Boston Heart Diagnostics cholesterol balance test report looks like when you get your results back. It's this area here where I'm moving my mouse on the right-hand side. You see that? There's the name of it, cholesterol balance test. Now, can you see where I've got the crosshair here? There's two production markers, one called lathosterol and one called desmosterol. And there's two absorption markers, one called beta-cytosterol and one called campesterol. Layman's terms, these are proxy markers for whether or not you overproduce or overabsorb or underproduce or underabsorb cholesterol. They're proxies, okay? So you can see my result. This was back in, when I did this, 2024, I think we're looking at here. Yep. You can see production markers, it's flagged as high because my lathosterol was in the red zone, my desmosterol was in the green zone, but we need to talk about that. Desmosterol's got a whole other gig going on with it. The earlier videos that you haven't seen, because you should be watching all my videos, go back and watch all of them. Very important to talk about desmosterol. But you can see here, absorption markers are high, right? I'm in the red zone for both the absorption markers. Now, these numbers can be manipulated through dietary changes and medications, okay? So, like I said in my intro before, I know I'm an overabsorber, right? I can see this. This was before any interventions. So I know before I do any interventions, whether it be diet, whether it be medications, I overabsorb cholesterol. So when someone says, eggs are going to raise your cholesterol, yep, they really are. And other foods rich in cholesterol, like what are the ones? Shrimp and liver. The cholesterol-rich foods, okay? If you don't, Google or AI them, okay? So this is not unusual because I have an ApoE4 allele, which is one of these alleles that associates with Alzheimer's, and it's quite typical for ApoE4 carriers to be overabsorbers. What this tells me is, if I cut eggs out of my diet, my cholesterol is going to go down. What it tells me is ezetimibe, which is not a first-line treatment for lowering cholesterol is going to work particularly well in me. Now, because I do also overproduce, as in one of the markers is high, a medication like a statin, or I prefer bempedoic acid, well, we can do a video on that, which reduces production, is also going to work. So combination therapy is the best way to go for me. And actually, I would argue, to be honest, it's the best way to go for everybody. See, one of the things that why this test is so important, for other than the reasons I just told you, is that you can manipulate these numbers. I'm not a fan of taking statin monotherapy, which just reduces cholesterol production, because it's a bit like the body is always trying to reach homeostasis, right? When you block production, just production, by statin on its own, the body kind of goes like this. Oh, we're not allowed to produce as much as we want. I know, we'll just absorb more cholesterol. And so over time, the statin doesn't work as well because the body's now absorbing more. Or if you just do an absorption blocker like ezetimibe, it can work great in the beginning, and then over time, the body says, I'll just produce more. So that's why I believe combination therapy, if you're going to be on a statin, and I think bempedoic acid is way, way better than a statin for reducing production. But if you're going to be on a statin, in my opinion, you want to be on the lowest dose to get the least side effects, but combine it with ezetimibe, because that way you're basically hacking the body. The body says, oh, I'm not allowed to produce as much. I'll just absorb more. And then you go, sorry, I'm not going to let you. We're going to throw ezetimibe in there. That's why, in my opinion, if you have to take a statin, and again, I prefer bempedoic acid. In my opinion, the best statin is pitavastatin. It's not the strongest one, but its lowest dose is, I think it's 0.1 of a milligram. Second best, in my opinion, is rosuvastatin, which is Crestor. The lowest dose there is 5 milligrams, but always paired with ezetimibe. Anyway, this just shows me I'm an overabsorber. So this test is really important before you go see your doctor, because you walk into the appointment, you're armed with knowledge about what medications are likely to work the best for you, okay? And let's just touch on desmosterol. Again, there are earlier videos on this, but the sound quality wasn't that great. So I'm just going to say this. Can you see here on the right-hand side, it says absolute value 0.9, and it looks like I'm okay, I'm in the green. Well, there's been research, and it's not cause and effect kind of research, it's more associative, that if someone's desmosterol is in the lowest 20 percentile of the population, which is around about 0.8 for absolute desmosterol, there's an association, again, not proven cause and effect, with Alzheimer's, okay? And I have an ApoE4 allele, and I take the view, I like to keep my life simple. I don't need to see the cause and effect. I don't want my absolute desmosterol too low. In fact, I want it above 1. So I don't really pay that much attention to, I'm in the green. I would actually rather see that higher, in other words, be 1.0 or higher, in order to stay away from this association that they found with absolute desmosterol being, quote unquote, too low. And people, remember, you go online and people always talk about statins and, I've got brain fog and it causes dementia. First of all, the population studies do not show that. There's no population study that shows that statins cause dementia or, Alzheimer's, right? But there is a mechanism. All statins, hydrophilic or lipophilic, do cross the blood-brain barrier. And like I said, they reduce cholesterol production. So if you're just taking a statin monotherapy, and I saw this happen to me, that desmosterol level can go down. And now you could be into that association area with Alzheimer's. Don't want to be there, which is another reason why I like to throw in ezetimibe, in order to balance out going too low on desmosterol, okay? So I've played with these numbers through things like when I was taking a statin and ezetimibe, I saw at one point my absolute desmosterol go below 0.8, and I was like, I don't like this at all. So what I decided to do was take the statin every second day, but keep ezetimibe, the absorption blocker, every day, sort of shift the weighting between blocking production and blocking absorption. In other words, to have a bit more emphasis on blocking absorption and a bit less emphasis on blocking production. And sure enough, the next time I ran the cholesterol balance test, my absolute desmosterol went above 1.0, which is the happy territory for someone like me. So That's just another reason, kind of a detailed biohackery kind of a reason where you don't have to pay attention to these other clowns on the internet. I got, brain fog and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, they never ran this blood test. They never checked to see if the statin they were on, monotherapy, which is ridiculous, shoved their desmosterol too low. They never did it. Because they're not on my YouTube channel, and you are. See? Are you happy? Are you happy you're on my channel? Yeah, you know you are. You've already clicked the subscribe button. And what do you mean you haven't done so? What do you mean? I'm giving you practical hands-on tips here. Anyway, I gotta go. So you need to get this cholesterol balance test done. Oh, yes, wait, I did tell you. I was going to show you how to get it through the finger prick if you don't want to get the kit or whatever. All right, let me bring that up. Hang on a second. All right, here you go. Told you I was full of good information. So if you don't want to get the kit mailed to you through a prescriber, whether it's a doctor or whether it's a chiropractor in my case, you can self-order it through a website. This one. See the link at the top? empowerdxlab.com. You go there and you search for cholesterol DX and it will bring up this screen. That's what they call it, cholesterol DX for $99. And what it is they mail it to your home and you just prick your finger and drop some blood onto a postcard that dries. You mail it off to them and then they will take care of sending it to Boston Heart Diagnostics and you will get a report back like the one I just showed you, okay? I haven't personally done this only because I have access to a chiropractor that gives me the script really, really inexpensively. I have an Any Lab Test Now facility 5 miles from my house. So that kit I told you that they mailed to you, I just figured, it's probably better. I don't know if it's better than the finger prick. But look, if you don't have access to Any Lab Test Now, or you don't want to deal with getting a script from a chiropractor or a doctor. And by the way, if you want to use my chiropractor, he does telehealth. It's like a local village chiropractor. He'll help you out. So just, if you want to send me a message and he can get this taken care of for you, if you do want the kit, go to my newsletter on Substack, simonthebiohacker.substack.com. Send me a private message and I'll give you his info. And he's really affordable and is way less money than all these hyper expensive functional medicine doctors for this kind of testing, because bottom line is insurance isn't going to cover this. So if you want to go to your MD, you're going to have to pay for a copay, see your MD. The MD is going to go, I've never heard of it. What's this? Blah, 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 blah. And then you'll end up paying 4 times the price anyway. So that's why I just go outside the system for it. So here it is, empowerdxlab.com. Cholesterol DX is the name of it. Postcard finger prick, send it off and you'll get the results back. Okay. Hopefully this information was helpful. You got to know whether you're an overproducer or an overabsorber. And then you got to follow up to make sure your absolute desmosterol never goes too low. You don't really want it below 1.0. You don't want to be in that dementia kind of a category, okay? You need to know this information to make informed dietary decisions and informed medicine, pharmaceutical decisions. Don't be a plonker about this. It's why you're on my channel, not to be a plonker. If you like my content, don't forget, click the subscribe button, bell notifications, leave me a comment saying, I hate your content, Simon. All you do is nag at me. You tell me to get my neck scan checking for atherosclerosis. Now there's a blood test I need to do. I know, right? I know. So I'm like your mother, aren't I? Always nagging at you. Anyway, I will catch you next time.